thanks to President Trump, the ATF isn't wielding the same kind of power like they had over the past 4 years, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. Now we could actually be seeing the end of the ATF, a close date, if you will, a final hoorah to get them the hell out of Washington. And today I'm going to tell you exactly how President Trump, Kash Patel, and Pam Bondi, the things that they are doing to actually get this ball rolling. And yes, they are talking about absolving the ATF. And I'm going to kind of tell you what that plan looks like, what Kash Patel is doing, and of course what President Trump is doing as well. And if you're a gun owner right now, you're probably thinking, man, is this really going to happen? And of course, I'm going to give you my opinion throughout, and I want to hear yours afterwards. Let me know what you think down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, which is, in my opinion, one of the more interesting and kind of the more, I don't know, like poetic justice part of this entire scenario, and where I thought, you know, maybe they're not going to shut down the ATF, right? There was rumors of this, but then Deputy Director Todd Blanche came out at the end of March and floated the idea about absolving the ATF into the DEA. And he has some really good reasons for doing so. One of the main ones is the fact that the ATF, the FBI, and the DEA already share information amongst each other. Now that, of course, is when they're not kind of pounding their chest out and keeping information from one agency to the next because they want to prove how important they are or something. So you have kind of this case deconfliction attempt that Deputy Director Todd Blanche is trying to get adopted. So taking all of your resources, throwing them under one roof, and essentially shrinking down the size of government, which is something President Trump has already been working on. Now, Todd Blanche has also talked about shutting down ATF offices around the country, keeping like a core group of attorneys that work in Washington, but essentially dispersing other people out to have those resources be better utilized. And we've even seen the ATF working with ICE, immigration, all of that kind of stuff as well. Now, of course, the regulatory responsibilities still have to continue. And how we get laws off of the books, well, we're about to talk about part of that, but also making sure that FFLs don't slow down. They get their approvals, of course, and they get the things they need to serve their constituents so people can still exercise their rights, and eliminating some laws that are on the books that the ATF has been enforcing for many years is still a part of the equation as well, and I assume they're trying to figure that part of it out. Now, if you get somebody like Doge to investigate waste, fraud, and abuse, I'm sure they'll find plenty of that with the ATF, and they could even further make that case. One thing you don't want is like a superpower FBI, right? So there has to be checks and balances inside of the system. That's something you don't want to shrink government just to make each government stronger, or each part of government, each agency stronger, because you're not always going to have a Kash Patel there. But this is a really, hopefully the way they figure it out and all of those kind of details will actually lead to a lot of the regulatory stuff and messing, I guess, essentially coming after gun owners will really give them no power to do that whatsoever. You're essentially, like they did with the ATF, taking money away from the ATF and giving people their rights back. Essentially, you take the money away that they allocate towards going after gun owners and FFLs for making simple errors. And this is a part of the rollbacks that we're looking at as well, because it's confirmed now, and Pam Bondi should make an announcement any day, that the ATF zero tolerance policy is going to be eliminated. I didn't realize, I knew this was bad. This is like really bad, but this is even worse than some of the things I've talked about in the past. Just to fill you in, this saw the revocation of FFLs basically skyrocket over 4 years, from 21 to 24. 24 saw the most revocations in over 20 years. 22 and 23 were just as bad compared to previous years. The things that a lot of these FFLs were facing, though, is even more ominous. But this also means that a lot of our information is now sitting with the ATF. So basically, part of this said that if you're making any kind of clerical errors, essentially they were skipping warnings at one point. They were issuing revocations more than issuing any kind of warnings. And you know what happened when those FFLs shut down? Well, they had to turn in all of their records plus their bound books, which created a backdoor registry with the ATF. Now, the ATF confirmed, hey, we already had 860 million records. Now we only have 960 million records. That's records on you, which again created this registry. Now, if FFLs made some kind of mistake, some of the penalties that they could have been facing were actually really stiff. Tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars maybe, in order to keep their licenses. So it's kind of understandable why some of them were just turning in their licenses. They're like, dude, we can't even afford to operate. The margins just aren't there for us to be able to do it. And of course, that creates another issue. Well, now you have people that lose their livelihoods, of course, and you have people that lose access to exercise their rights. It's another form of gun control that the Biden administration was using, and now zero tolerance policy is out. Now, another thing that has basically been finished for a while now is the pistol brace ruling, but we're also told that Kash Patel is going to be looking at eliminating that and the private gun transfers where you have to go through an FFL, and this is like on a federal level, eliminating that part of it too. Now, that's not everything that we need eliminated from the ATF before you actually absolve that agency, but that's a freaking really good start. And by the way, when you're talking about these FFLs making simple errors, you're not talking about them like, selling directly to the cartel. You're talking about literal, very simple errors in paperwork that can be corrected and then boom, you're good to go. Like, some of these things weren't so egregious where it would keep somebody from buying a firearm. Either way, that's another part of it. The last part of this is Kash Patel. I saw a report the other day and I didn't make a video on it because I was like, well, I don't think there's enough here, but I'm kind of glad I didn't now because I could throw it into this one too. But there have been reports that Kash Patel has not been as active at the ATF. He's been very active with the FBI, but not over at the ATF. And I kind of smiled when I saw it because this might be a part of the plan as well. Just kind of showing that, hey, for the first time ever, we have an FBI director. He's the same one leading the ATF. ATF does not need its own director. They don't need to be their own agency in the first place. So Kash Patel's lack of presence at the ATF really speaks louder than anything. Why do you need them around? You need people to handle the FFL stuff, but at the end of the day, it probably, and this is just a guess, but he's probably showing, hey, without them going after gun owners so much, you don't really need those resources. That, $2 billion a year, that's a lot of money that can be saved, and have the agents, the good agents that are there, that are actually trying to do their job and not shut down gun businesses and FFLs and come after gun owners for pistol braces. Look how much money we can actually save and how much resources we can save at the end of the day. Kind of is a beautiful thing to see. So let me know what you think. Is there an end of date coming for the ATF? Are they actually finally on the chopping block? And of course, let me know what you think about some of the other policies and regulatory responsibilities that they still hold. Let me know what you think down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.